Who we got next, Johnny? So the next guy out of Ohio State, Cade Stover, which this seems to be the guy getting most of the attention outside of Brock Bowers this year. But again, he did not really do much until his senior year with 41 catches, 576 yards, 5 TDs. But again, tight ends are not big weapons in university. He was drafted to replace Schultz in Texas. So, what are your thoughts on this guy?
When you look at him, like you said, his stats don't really jump off the page. His combine, he runs quick. There's a lot of holes, I think, in his, for me anyway, when I read about him and seen his highlights, I feel like he has the ability to become a decent tight end, but he's very much a non-existent factor when we talk about fantasy. But just talking about the player, potentially he could become good in a couple of years. He's got a few things he needs to work on. The thing I look at, like we always say on this show, is we kind of look at team fit. And the one thing, because there's people, when I read about it, people are very bullish on him. They think he potentially could be year one contributor. But for me, I look at it as he's been with Stroud the whole time Stroud was at Ohio State. So, looking at it from that angle, it's like, was this because we heard when Stroud got picked, he basically said to the front office, "Get me Tank Dell," and they went and got him Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Has he turned around now and said, "Get me Cade," because me and him had a good relationship, because his last 2 years he didn't really do anything before that, but his last 2 years he had all right production, and one of them years was his Stroud. So again, looking to the future, he could be a cheeky little sleeper, but for now, with Schultz, Bevan Jordan, he's just buried on the depth chart at the moment. But as we saw last year with Stroud doesn't really give a shit who he throws to. He'll just sling it to anyone he wants. So, for all we know, if these two were really good mates for the 5 years at Ohio together, and then that rapport shows in training camp, we just never know what could happen to this guy. That's all hypotheticals, though. That's all I've got with him. Just all pure hypotheticals.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on this one as well. He could surprise, being from Ohio State, and Stroud being from Ohio State. Maybe they did have a solid relationship. But again, rookie tight ends don't usually pop off the page like Laporte did last year. That was a very unusual season. So again, Dynasty, I'm all over putting him in the flex spot. And like I typed, seems like every year I have 5 rookie tight ends. I don't know why.
The issue is, like, with him, I just can't see a path for him to get on the field, because it's like, you look at his combine, you read about him, and then like the page I use, Draft Buzz, they said like, because of his frame and stuff, he could be a slot receiver, because he's quickness and stuff. It could be used as a slot receiver. But you look at the depth chart, you've got Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell. I just do not, bar injury. And then you've got John Mechie behind them, who is coming off having a full year back after having leukemia, and he's no scrub. Like, he's no like just pushover. He comes from that Alabama team who just had absolute dominant receivers. So, yeah, he has attributes, but definitely one for the future. Like you said, Dynasty, chuck him on your taxi. And then hopefully, if Schultz moves on next year, he gets up the chart, and then we just see what happens from there.
Exactly what Luke said here. The only reason I would probably draft this guy in the OrkneyBowl is if I had Schultz. And even then, I wouldn't feel too particularly happy that I would be having to play the guy.
But then they've got
but
Bevan Jordan, who was a really good tight end coming out himself. So yeah, it's got to be interesting to see. 4th round though.
But guys, we 2 in a row, we both agree that they're not fantasy relevant for OrkneyBowl. But I do like talking about these guys. We don't normally talk about rookie tight ends very often, so it is interesting to hear other people's ideas and to talk about them for people that have dynasty leagues.